ليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أأن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجلا يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أتخذ من دونه آلية إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها هبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملت أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. وآية له أن حملنا ذريته في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين. وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون. وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها مؤرضين. وإذا قيل لهم انفقوا مما رزقهم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا ونتم من لو يشاء الله أتأمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في السور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قول من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إن نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقا قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون فاتحة Jazakallah, Brother Muhammad. We would now like to request our respected Sheikh Mohammed Mehdi to come and present his lecture. With salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله اللهم لعن ولا ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله اللهم لعنهم جميعا ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Marriage is a religious union. Although it is a religious union and it is a blessing, some people never experience marriage. Some people never experience a good marriage. Just like some people will have children, some people don't have children. There are things that we attain in this world and things that we don't attain in this world. However, we persevere and we continue to achieve these things. When it comes to marriage in general and the systems that we were accustomed to in our lives, we would have things like arranged marriages, and people at the time would see the purpose of them, and they would see the positives for arranged marriages and they'd see the negatives. The positives were when the parents would choose wisely a spouse for their child. But the negatives were the parents and the children were created for two different eras. And sometimes I might choose for my child something that I would desire, a quality in a woman, that the child may not. And this is where the conflict would occur. This is where it would arise. And this kind of marriage generally they would call when someone goes through the door. They enter through the door. So from this beget the entering through the door, where people would actually, if they were interested in someone, they wouldn't go talk to them. If they wouldn't actually go talk to the girl, they would actually enter through the door, meaning they would go seek permission to speak to the girl from the parents. The problem with this, once again culture would enter and tradition, and they'd say, this is our culture, these are our ways, which are important. Your culture is who you are. But your culture is wrong when your culture contradicts religion. When your culture takes you away from religion, where you start using things like the systems that we have that dictate where we are from, the positions and the statuses. Where, for example, if I talk the country I'm from, people say, oh, if the guy is from that village, we will not marry them. That's not possible at all. Sometimes you have two villages that are neighboring villages that weren't married to each other. And the other thing is also a lot of people used to look at how many zeros does the person have at the end of his bank account. Fiscal power plays a major role when it comes to getting married. The reason why divorce rates are so high is because the choices that are made initially are wrong to begin with. And this is what we will talk about as we move along. Then you've got the other side, the ones that like to go through the window, which is generally what's happening today, where guys and girls are meeting up with each other and talking to each other before they come to the parents' house. Now, the problem with this, see, the good thing here for them is they get to choose who they want. But the bad thing, it's all hype talk. It's all sweet nothings. It's a bit like, when you go shopping in Shahr Ramadan. Have you ever went shopping in Shahr Ramadan and you're fasting and you'll buy 5 different types of sweets? You know what I mean? Because you're so hungry, you think you can eat them all. So I'm making fish, I'm making chicken, and I'm making beef, and yeah, I'm going to make lamb. Yeah, and I'll get some prawns as well. I can make everything because I think I can eat it all. And the whole time, my mind is not functioning. Why? Because I'm hungry. So when two people want to get married and they're in that mode where they see the necessity of marriage, they don't discuss what is relevant for marriage. They don't look at for the things that are needed in marriage. I remember I had a phone call a while back. It wasn't that long, and it was a female called me and she said, "Salaam alaikum, alaikum salam." She said, "I need you to do my aqd nikah." I said, "Yes, there's a process to this." She said, "No, I need it to be done today." And then I said, "How old are you?" Was it sound like? She said, "I'm 17 years old." I said, "Where's your parents? What's going on?" She said, "I've run away from home. And if you don't do my aqd nikah, I'm going to commit adultery tonight." I said, "It's like someone saying to you, if you don't kill a cow for me, I'm going to eat pork. Good luck to you. Go nuts. Eat all the pork you want. What do you think?" In other words, can you put your neck down for me so I can enter paradise and you go to hell? What, am I just going to do this for you just so you can be safe? There are also consequences. Once you've done what you wanted to do, you're going to say, "What have I done?" And lo and behold, 6 months later, she calls me again. She said, "Do you remember me?" I said, "No." She said, "I need to get a divorce." And I said, "Who married you?" She said, "So and so." She named the person. I said, "Then go to that person that married you and get a divorce." And I said, "What happened? Why would you just get a divorce?" She said, "He wasn't the right guy." This is how the system works. They go in this direction and they throw caution at the wind and they run and they don't even know what's going on. You even have cases you will not believe. Another one, this was many years ago, they contacted me, wanted a divorce. She said she got married and the guy ran overseas and she hasn't heard from him. I said to her, "All right, so I can help you investigate. What is his name?" You're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. She didn't know the guy's name. This is not hyperbole. I'm not exaggerating. She actually married someone. She didn't even know his name. So you think there are some people that do things, yes, they say truth is stranger, than fiction. People do things like you would not believe. And these things we should not facilitate. We should not even encourage, and we should stand against them. So when they decide to do something in this manner, they know there was opposition. In other situations, we have to work with people when it comes to marriage. Firstly, let's take a look at what a man should be looking for when he gets married. I don't know if you remember when this girl in Dearborn, Michigan, I think, or Detroit, Michigan, she was from a Shia family and she won Miss Michigan or Miss America pageant. And they went to Lebanon. They said she's from a South Lebanese family. She's a Shia family. And she won the Miss America pageant. Um, so they went up to one of the politicians, the Shia politicians, and they said, what do you think that from a girl from a Shia family would be entering a pageant and she would win Miss America? So she thought she was going to get, when they get one of the hardline dear bandies or one of those to talk, and you know how they'll go on, they'll be burning in hell, she's this and whatever. He responded a precise response. He said the criteria that we use to evaluate women is different to the criteria that you use. And this is what we need to look at this point. The criteria as a Muslim that you use to evaluate a woman should be different to the criteria that is used for the West. What a man should look for in a woman is a good and chaste woman. Many a time, when you ask someone, who would you like to marry? Give me the criteria. They always tell you, I want a religious woman. Everyone says, I want a mu'minah. And then they end up chasing the girl that has the most likes on Instagram. Didn't you say you wanted a religious woman? I never knew you were into duckface. I never knew you were into the clown patrol, all these people that got cake face and all that, and fillers and all this stuff. Right now, everyone looks the same. Women are just into Botox and just injecting themselves. People are injecting themselves in their teens. And these men are chasing this. They're chasing these, I don't know, must be the thing that's in vogue. And people like this. That's their prerogative. But they're chasing these things that are all over Instagram. And her whole life is based on the whole world pressing like and looking at her. Where's your ghira? You're chasing someone that everyone desires. Where's this chastity that you should be looking for when it comes to getting married? Like some people will say you can't judge a book by its cover. That's true. We're not judging a book by its cover. But let me tell you this. I'm not telling you if someone looks religious that they're not, if someone looks religious. And if they look religious, they're not religious. But I do know something for sure. I know that you may not look the part, you might not be the part, but you look the part. For example, when you look at a motorcycle, or they call themselves motorcycle clubs, you see the guy, it says on his patch, 1%er, which the 1%er of a motorcycle club means we're the 1%, because the statement is that 99% of motorbike clubs are law-abiding. So that 1% is not. So where I'm a 1%er, I'm not law-abiding, but go and call this guy a gang member, he'll want to fight you. Because he will get offended. I'm not a gang member. Even those people that belong to football club firms, have you seen those people that back in the days, I don't know if they still fully operate like they did in the past, where two football clubs would play against each other, and then the two rival gangs of the firms, but they're not gangs, they're firms, like they're gentlemen's clubs, they would meet up just to bash each other. Can you imagine? They'd meet up to bash each other, but they call the firm as if they're running some legitimate business. They don't like to be called gang. Yet they dress the part and they act the part. You would agreeably say that although you might be a good woman, that doesn't wear modestly, that doesn't wear hijab. You might be a good woman, but would you concede that you're dressing in a dress code of someone that doesn't have modesty? If I dress in a way and act in a certain, if I dress in a certain way, I'm not saying that you're immodest, but your clothing suggests that you are. You would concede that. You wouldn't say, no, that's not the case. It is the case. Because this is a form of sutra, and this is what I have to look for. Someone that dresses and appears modestly. Not someone that pouts in pictures and puts them all over the net for people to look at. Some people might get upset. A lot of people will get upset at these comments. And that's okay. I'm not here to, like I said, to appease people. I'm not here to make friends with people. Because in the end of the day, when you say things that need to be said, they're for me and you to learn. It's not just for you. I have to learn from these as well, because I have family and I have to raise my family in a certain manner. If you take a look at this with the criteria for the non-Muslim and what they marry, the non-Muslim, and when it comes to the way that they get married, the first thing they look for, and this is a non-religious person, is they look for appearance. You know, sometimes people give you different criteria. They will tell you, I want this, I want that. I remember one guy said, can you give me, because he wanted me to find someone for him. I said, or at least give me a list of things you would require. He said, looks, 9 out of 10. I said, all right. He said, religion, 9 out of 10. I said, this guy's shooting for the hills, keep going. And then he said, education, 9 out of 10. And I said, wow. And he wrote something, sporting ability. Thinking this guy's about to buy a football player. I don't know. He wrote 7 out of 10. And I said, he's negotiable. So then I said, all right, I'll call Mattel and tell them to make a Barbie that wears a chador and I'll send it to you. You know, what are you looking for? What is it that you're aspiring to find? What do you look at? Like, in other words, you can't be asking for Fatima alayha salam unless you're Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Why are you hitting so high? Look at yourself. In a non-Islamic perspective, appearance comes first. The second thing they generally look for, whether they accept this or not, is they look at promiscuity. And when I say promiscuous, it's someone that goes out with anybody. That's what they look for these. They're the people that they like. Have a look at the people that are famous today. Who the people like to keep up with. They're the people that started off with what? How did they become famous? Look at all their careers. A lot of these women that people follow, look at where they started off and what made them famous. If it wasn't for some vulgar thing that they did or indecent thing that they did, and people support them. Look at all those big celebrities, what they did to make them who they are right now and famous. And that these people are favored by who? By the non-Muslim. So the criteria I should look for is a chaste woman. And it's so important. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he says, إِيَّاكُمْ وَخَضْرَاءُ الدِّمَمْ. Listen to these words. إِيَّاكُمْ, woe unto you, وَخَضْرَاءُ الدِّمَمْ. خَضْرَاءُ الدِّمَمْ, you know what it is? I'll explain it in normal terms. Have you ever seen the marshes or the swamps and there's a growth, like a flower? Usually you'll see a flower in there, and they're usually rare flowers that grow there. You get the orchids that grow there, there's nice looking flowers. He says, beware of what? He says that floral, that flower that appears where? In a swamp. And they said, what is that, Ya Rasulullah? He says, Al-mar'atul hasna fi manbati su. He says, the pretty woman, an attractive woman that comes in a bad environment. In other words, she's very attractive, but everything, all the boxes are crossed except her looks. You see a guy, he says, yeah, but she's beautiful, I'm marrying her. That's all he's worried about. Then after he marries her and the beauty wears off, because he realizes that's who I'm going to be with forever, then there's got to be other qualities that work within us, for which we'll talk over in the following nights, how to maintain this marriage. And then he realizes the error that he has made. Now, when it comes to a woman and they're looking for a man, so a man has to find a chaste woman. That's the main criteria. The man is a bit different because there's more of a criteria for a man. Because the man is going to be the head of the household. If you take a look, for example, to give you an example of how important it is to be looking at who your daughter marries, is if you take a look at when someone contracts a marriage, be it like even, for example, a temporary marriage, a Muslim man can do a temporary marriage with a Christian or a Jew, a non-Muslim, but a Muslim woman cannot. Because you cannot have the wali, the person that is going to be in charge of the relationship, because a man's in charge of the relationship in Islam. There's no, when they say, oh, this is going to be 50-50, yes, 50-50 in your dreams. In a relationship, the man calls the shots. That's the way it works, and some people will sit there and argue about it. You can argue all you want. الرجال قوامون على النساء, and that's another discussion in the nights we come along, and the position. But because the man has this position, the man holds his position, you need to know who you're going to marry your daughter to, because this could result in how her life is going to be like. So Rasulullah is sitting with his companions, روحي له الفداء, and he says to them, إذا جاءكم من ترضون دينه وخلقه. Mentions in the hadith, إذا جاءكم من ترضون خلقه, in another narration, ودينه. He actually says the akhlaq and then the deen. If a man comes to ask for your daughter's hand, this man has akhlaq and he has deen, he says فزوجوه, marry him. So one man says to him, Ya Rasulullah, وَإِن كَانَ دَنِيًّا فِي نَسَبِهِ. He said, what if he's from, Dani means a lower caste, or someone from a lower progeny or lineage. He's not like, some people, they're elitists. They think they're above others. I remember I've sat with some people, have a mentality, and they actually believe that a Sayyida cannot marry except a Sayyid. I said, where do you come with this? They go, it's impossible for the daughter of Fatima al-Zahra to marry someone that isn't the son of Fatima. And I said, well, then Imam Ali didn't go by your category, because he married his daughter Zainab to the son of his brother Ja'far, who isn't the son of Fatima. So Imam Ali already destroyed this system you guys created right from the start. He destroyed this system that you people put together. So some people, they try to do this. They try to push it. Yes, it matters where they come from. So when they said this to Rasulullah, وَنَسَبَهُ, that where he comes from, his social status, the Prophet ﷺ then repeated this. إِذَا جَاءَكُم مَّن تَرْضَوْنَ خُلَقَهُ وَدِينَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ إِنَّكُمْ إِلَّا تَفْعَلُوا. It says, marry this person as akhlaq and religion. And if you do not do this, تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. It becomes what? Fitna. You've caused trouble, and fasadun kabir, and great decadence or corruption, because you leave these righteous people unmarried. Someone comes in, he's religious, and you've turned them away, and they have good qualities. Why would I turn them away? You have thrown away something that is of great importance. Before we look at akhlaq, let's look at what deen is. Deen is not just this person is a believer that says shahadatain. You can even teach a parrot to say the shahadatain. I swear you can. Parrot, you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and you'll hear the parrot just continually saying it. And that's it. You can teach anybody to say it. Deen is a way of life. It's how you and I live. If you look at the word aqidah, why do we call it aqidah? Aqidah, aqda, is a knot. Aqidah means it ties on your heart. It's tied to your heart. Deen, if it wasn't agreeable with us, we would never be aqidah. If the religion wasn't something that Allah had designed us to accept, if a prophet would come and tell people, they'd say, what the hell? Do you imagine the prophet would come and say, listen, you kill your firstborn and drink his blood? People say, what are you talking about? They'd never accept the religion. But the aqidah tells you of things that you say, you know what, I agree with this. Don't steal, yeah, that's not good. Don't lie, yeah. If you even ask people that drink alcohol, don't drink alcohol. You ask any alcoholic if alcohol is good. No one would ever say it's good. They say my only sin is alcohol. That's what they say. They call it as a sin. They can see it's wrong. They even try and convince themselves that it's something that is good. It must be fundamentals that are accepted. When we're looking for deen, we need someone that it's not lip service, not someone that's they meet somebody and they keep saying subhanallah, mashallah, la ilaha, the guy's religious. That's the lip service. Deen is not something that's meant just for the center. I come into the center. I once went to Gallipoli Mosque, in Auburn, and we were doing some training back when I was younger for the company we were working for, and we went to pray in the mosque there, and then I saw something that amazed me. The imam that comes in turns up. He comes in his car. He's dressed in his civvies, his normal civilian clothes, and then he walks into a room, and then he puts on the gear that he prays with, and then he prays. Then he goes back into that room, takes it back off, puts his civilians. And I thought, he's coming in, Clark Kent dresses as Superman in the phone booth and comes back out. He's Clark Kent again. I thought about, is that the process that's going on? But really, this process was taken from Ataturk's government, where Ataturk used to say religion stays where? In the masjid. It's not allowed out of the masjid. You read the Quran in the masjid. You can't read it outside the masjid. That's why if you see in Turkey, you see a lot of these shows, it's normal for people to what? Drink alcohol. It's normal. It's not something. So if I have that kind of Ataturk standards, then this is not the Islamic faith that we are looking at. So I'm looking for a person that's religious. How is he religious? One of the litmus tests I use, I always look for anyone that he's ever done business with. This is how you know if he's religious. Ask the person he did business with how honest he was with dealing. That's how you know. This is Islam. Al-mu'min la yakthib. Mu'min doesn't lie. That's this. You want to know someone's a mu'min? They don't deceive people. They don't lie. They have this character within them, and you know that you are not at loss when it comes to marrying your daughter in this manner. Because everyone upholds their prayers, everyone fasts the holy month of Shahr Ramadan. You see them. People, how many people have you seen go to the Hajj and they come back from the Hajj and you think this person went and all he did was dressed in 2 white towels and return? Nothing's changed in them. It's how they deal with other people. The other thing is I have to do research. I just don't accept. I need to do my research. Why? And when you do research and you're asking about somebody, let the person know that you ask. Tell them it's not ghiba for you to tell me, because it isn't. It's ghiba for you just to talk about someone. But for finding out about someone that's asked for your daughter's hand, you've got to let the person, if you know something about him, it's not ghiba if you disclose it, because he's asking for my daughter's hand. I need to know who I'm dealing with. They need to know this information. Then we go towards akhlaq. Now, deen for your daughter is to what? Procure what? Her hereafter. So she enters paradise. She's married to a mu'min. But Kam min mu'min. How many believers you see that pray fast, but they have no akhlaq? So this is why akhlaq is important. Akhlaq is for the dunya of your daughter. That she has a good dunya. That she enjoys a good dunya. The thing is, when it comes to picking friends or associating with people, we never associate with people or befriend people just for what they have and what they can benefit us with, say it's money or position. Because if that's the case, the second that this person loses the money or the position, people disassociate with them. The people that you'll find that you keep as friends are the people with the best character, the people that are respectful. If someone has no respect, people don't like sitting with them. If you take a look, for example, at Harmala, as anyone, if you were told someone to draw a picture of Harmala, how would they draw? They would draw a monster of some sort, even though he was one of the most handsome men in Kufa. Did you know that? He was one of the most handsome men in Kufa. Yet his character showed what kind of a person he was. Sometimes you think, how's that? This is a test in what the way God works. Even if you take a look when Yusuf alayhi salam was in that position with Zulaykha, Zulaykha, it said, was Ajmal Nisa Zamaniha. She was the most beautiful of the most beautiful women of her time. Yet Yusuf only observed the ugliness of her actions. So we look at the character of people, and this is the importance of choosing the right person. What character we are talking about? We are talking about the akhlaq. The akhlaq is the temperament of these people, the way they react to things. If you look at akhlaq, it has two meanings. One is, we would say, a distinctive, and the other one is more general. One, when I say distinctive, it's how I should deal with other people. How do I deal with others? The Messenger of God, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, says, he says, Al-mu'min حزنه في قلبه وبشره في وجهه. حزنه, the believer, their grief is within. And you only see on their face what? You go, look at this person, yeah, this person must have it all because he's always happy. My father once told me when they worked when I was studying in Najaf, Al Ashraf, he said, we had this guy who used to sell perfumes, atar, and all these scents. And they would go to buy from him. He said, this person, when you saw him, he was bashush. He was lovely to deal with, always smiling, those happy souls. One day he went and I asked, he said, where did the Abu Riha, the one that was selling the Riha, disappear to? And he said, the guy says, Khatiyah, he returned to his country. When you say Khatiyah, in the Iraqis, it means the poor fellow. My father said, I've never seen someone so joyous. Why would you call him like he's Khatiyah, poor guy, He said, don't you know about him? My father said, what? He said, this man, his wife and my wife were friends. He's had 4 sons, and each of them is mentally disabled. My father said, not a single day would I see it on his face. He would bear with it, and he wouldn't let anyone know. Someone with this kind of temperament is what you want as a husband for your daughter. Because he will put up with things. Not at the first hiccup, he'll say, I want a divorce. See, these days, they just want a divorce. You ask them, why do you want a divorce? What is the reason you would want a divorce? And usually the person that wants a divorce is always perfect. Never done anything wrong. I don't think I want her. I think we need to part ways. Or she says, I don't think, and I want to part ways. And we'll talk about that in the following night. But akhlaq first is with this. This is the distinctive one, the one that you can see. But then there's a more general description of akhlaq. And this more general thing is our control over our inner strengths. There are things within us that exist. If anyone tells you, I don't get angry, everyone gets angry. There are things that anger you. You know, I had a discussion recently with a person. He asked me, why do you do la'na and ziyarah? And I said to him, why? I said, do you hate people? You know, because I remember those evangelical priests, that, not evangelical, sorry, if you take a look at the more, yeah, the more lovely ones, you know, the ones that are very friendly, they always tell you love one another. Jesus said to love your enemy. You say, really? What were the Crusades all about? And what was the Spanish Inquisition all about when you were putting people to the test in Christianity? What were all these all about? Because both of them, because in case if you says I'm not Catholic, if you say the Spanish Inquisition, say, all right, what about the Crusades? Because that was the Protestants. So regardless, one of them is there about not loving them. Neither of them were really loving their enemy. So I said, do you hate anybody? And he said, no. I said, that's not possible. I said, how could you not hate anybody? How could someone possibly not hate anybody? It could be someone's been sheltered their whole life and never seen anything. Or someone that doesn't have empathy. Because then I asked him if someone committed this kind of a crime. And I used the example, I said, like Martin Bryant. Who remembers Martin Bryant, the Port Arthur massacre back in 1996? It would have been about 24 years ago. Does anyone remember that? He killed 36, I think, people in Port Arthur. One of the victims, and I told him this was one of the victims, he said, well, two little girls, I said, they hid behind a tree. He actually came around the tree with the semi-automatic rifle and a point blank shot them in the heads. I said, do you hate this kind of a person? I said, then you don't empathize. I said, what if someone did that to your child? He said, I wouldn't like the action. And then I said, listen, you're playing semantics now. Don't play around with words. Because then God will test you in a way and He will change everything within your being. So don't talk like that. So we all have anger, we all have hate, they are within us. And even Allah Azza wa Jal, when He mentions in the Quran, Muhammadun Rasulullah, وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ أَشِدَّاءُ عَلَى الْكُفَّارِ رُحَمَاءُ بَيْنَهُمْ. That the people with the Messenger of Allah are stern with the unbelievers and they're merciful with one another. If you're not stern with the enemy, then you're going to be stern with your own people. Take a look at the Middle East. Look at their rulers. You know, if you take a look at most of the Gulf states, they prostrate to Uncle Sam, and then they stomp on their own people. Doesn't work. It's one way or the other. That's how it works. You need to have this sternness, and you need to have this leniency. So to have this bad akhlaq within you, it makes people dislike you. People abstain if you can't control the strengths. You know, even things that say you're very sensitive. And a lot of people these days, are so sensitive. And sometimes I'll be sitting down and my son comes up and says, I'm bored. And I sit and I think about it for a second. I say, how am I going to respond to this? And then I turn around and I go, you know, these kids in you got kids working in mines just to live. And I said, you're bored? I go, don't worry, I'll give you some errands to do. Then I'll give him some chores. I'll make him curse the second he said he was bored. Because you have this new age, a new generation, that they're raised soft, even the way that they're raised, that you need to literally feed them about a bag of cement. They're raised soft these days. And you have in a relationship where Males and females are sensitive, that if one says the wrong thing to the other, they get upset. Why did you say that for? Harden up. Why are you so soft in this manner? Or they get angry from the slightest thing. They'll hold a grudge for a long time. This is what we're talking about, general akhlaq. Being able to control things, overlook things. If you walk in the street, honestly, when you're walking in the shops, you bump someone, do you punch on? Oh, excuse me, everyone keeps walking. Why is it when I get home? Can't you see where you're walking? You stepped on my toe or something like that. Why is it changed when I get back home? This is what we're talking about, that akhlaq, to be able to control this. And with this, we'll actually get into deeper detail when we're talking about the relationship between a family and how to maintain a good marriage. So when I'm looking for the right man, I need to find someone with religion to maintain my daughter's akhirah, and someone with good moral conduct so he gives a good life in the dunya. Doesn't sit there and quote the Quran and Ruwayat Ahl al-Bayt in his manner. Comes out and says, did you know that my rights are this? She starts reading her rights, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? You start reading, if a marriage is based on rights, it's a terrible marriage. It's based on sacrifice, which we'll discuss over the nights. Tonight, our majlis revolves around a dear companion, as we call Sheikh al-Ansar, one of the older men of the companions of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And he was someone that was a good husband, and his wife was a good, the woman in his life was a good wife. And that man was Habib ibn Mudahir al-Asadi. He was, when you say Ansar, he was of the Ansar in a true sense, because the Imam was in Karbala when he sent a letter to Habib, and Habib was where? Habib was in Kufa. And you know, when we sit there and we say Khayrul A'mal, Intidharul Faraj, the ones that await the Imam, Habib was someone awaiting his Imam, living his life, farming, but awaiting the command of his Imam. While he was seated having breakfast with his wife said, oh Habib, I feel as if something will come to you today from your master Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. And as they were eating, a few moments and the door knocked, and someone came, a messenger with a letter for Habib. He opened this letter and he wept, because this letter was from the Imam telling him that he was in Karbala and he was waiting for Habib to come and join. So Habib said to his wife, how did you know this? She said, oh Habib, last night I witnessed in my dream, I saw Fatima alayhi salam. And then she said, tell your husband Habib to dye his beard. So she didn't understand the meaning of the dream, dyeing his beard, not with actual dye, but to dye his beard with what? With the blood of martyrdom. See, because Habib ibn Mudahir had been promised martyrdom, because he was one of the soldiers at the time of Siffin, and he asked Amir al-Mu'mineen, will I, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, will I attain martyrdom? Imam Ali alayhi salam said to Habib, yes, you will. So when the fight of Siffin finished, and he was still alive, he said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, has something changed that I did not acquire this martyrdom? Have I done something wrong? He said, oh Habib, no, the time has not yet come. He said, when is the time? Because Amir al-Mu'mineen told his companions, he said to him, the time will be on the day of Ashura, and the place will be Karbala, and this is where you will attain this martyrdom. But the problem that Habib had is, how is he to leave Kufa? How can he leave Kufa? Because Kufa was surrounded. The guards of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad did not allow anyone to leave. So he called his servant. He said to his servant, Get my horse prepared out in the farmlands so we can escape through the farmlands, through the fields out there, and we'll leave. So Habib's servant went and bought the horse. So when Habib came to meet his servant, he said to his servant, I'm going to give you freedom now. You are free to go. And the servant said, Oh, Abu Qasim, to Habib Mudahar, you want to free me now? He said, You wanted to free me now? You've raised my whole life believing and following the son of Fatima, and now you want to free me and leave me alone. Oh Habib, please take me with you. I will not be satisfied till I attain martyrdom with you. So the Habib said, Juzita khaira, you are a good man, may you be rewarded greatly. And he took him on the back of the horse and they headed towards Karbala swiftly. At the time, Imam Hussein's in Karbala preparing his army. And he places his army. He gives the standard on the Maysara, on the left flank, to who? On the Maymana, sorry. To who? To Zuhair ibn al-Qayn. He says, you stand on the right flank. And he gives the grand standard to who? To Abu Fadl Abbas. So who are you going to have on the left flank, O Abu Abdullah? He says, wait, he's coming. I am awaiting him. The one that will take the standard on the left flank. And along this time, Habib arrives, and Imam Hussein comes and greets him. And upon his arrival, Sayyida Zainab sends Fadda to give salam to Habib. Sayyida Zainab is happy that Habib has come. Many have left Abu Abdullah. Habib has come there to avail Abu Abdullah. When Habib hears that salam has been given to him from Sayyida Zainab, they say he falls on the floor and he takes the earth and puts it on his head. And he says, who am I that the daughter of Rasulullah sends me personal salam? This is the position that Habib is in. Habib takes the standard and he is there to serve Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Of the first to be martyred was his grand friend, a friend of his called Muslim ibn Awsaj. He goes out to fight, and as he falls, he calls for Abu Abdullah. Habib and Imam Hussein come to him. When they come to Muslim ibn Awsaj, Habib says to Muslim, he says, oh Muslim, he says, if I knew that I would live any longer after you, but I know only in moments I will follow in you, I would ask you, what are your final wishes of a dying man? What's your wasiyah? So what is it that I can fulfill for you? So Muslim points to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and says, Usika bihada, that do not leave him. Die while you protect Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And moments go by, then it's Habib's turn to stand up. Habib comes out to fight, and he's a sheikh. So much when we say sheikh, an elderly man, his eyebrows are long from the hair that stands there, from his age that he's had. So he moves towards the enemy, and he fights in a warrior's way, and he fights in a strong way until he is struck down. In fact, not only is Habib struck down, he's struck in the head, the enemy hates him so bitterly because he's the one that rebukes them when they curse and slander the Imam, that he is the first one to have his head severed out of the companions of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك يا الله 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 يا Allah. We ask you, Allah Azza wa Jal, to forgive us our transgressions and forgive the believers all around the world from their transgressions. We ask Allah to have mercy upon our deceased. We ask Allah to cure our sick. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal not to leave us with even a speck of sin that we will be questioned about in the hereafter. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to use our health and our youth in His service. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal on this night that not a single person that is seeking a partner in life for marriage, that their prayers are answered and they get righteous people to marry. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to hasten the reappearance of our master, Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan al-Mahdi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام وعلى 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 ورحمة الله وبركاته وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والأرواح موتانا وموتاكم. رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.